Guerrero racist?
He probably would say yes.
Because within one day of him saying that, she voiced her support for the wall. Sure. And then attacked someone who brought up the fact, you were married to Eddie Guerrero and everything. She's like, don't bring up my marital status has nothing to do with this. She's a Mexican-American herself. She didn't get she's not Hispanic by marriage. She's Hispanic by birth.
Eddie wasn't born in Mexico.
Is that even a thing?
He was born in Texas. He was born in Texas. He's Tex-Mex, just like Vicky.
Well, see, the thing is when people make comments like that, they really don't think about the fucking weight and the consequences of what those comments mean. Exactly. Without getting deeply political, like every single topic has been, I think we can leave it there.
I was going to leave it there, but I'm just, that's why I'm not on board with Cody anymore.
The real question is what kind of potatoes do you think that Cody is?
Cody, if I had to say, he likes his extra dark. Nothing wrong with that. That could be very good.
What the fuck is a dark potato?
You extra put it on the grill, cook it up even extra. You char it.
Char. Okay, well, char is different than dark. Dark implies like a potato of evil or a potato with like an absence of light.
Well, you mean like this fucking woman's eyes in the video?
Oh, that's Poppy, dude. Don't make fun of my new wife.
Dude, I can't get into those freaking eyes. Look, she looks good looking, but I don't like. Are those? No.
Dramatic effect.
If I had
a real legitimate eye,
I know that, but if she was wearing them, I would tell her to take them off before we go to the bedroom. I can't do it. I'm convinced. Those eyes make me convinced that she would stab me with a knife like Corvin wants to do to me.
Dude, that's fucking. See, I don't know. That's where I get a little weird because I think that should.
Okay, right?
I love a gothic girl, goth punk, all that emo, all that shit. They can be
you
sexy
like a goth girl, but a fucking simple contact flips you out. Come on now.
When they're pure black like that, look, they can have different colors of whatever, cat eyes, purple, whatever you want to do. I don't care. That's okay.
You've never fucked a black-eyed girl?
I've had girls.
You're missing the best things in life.
Not like that. There's no white, nothing. That looks. It's like the exact opposite of when Undertaker would roll his eyes back. It's like just no, can't do it.
Dave, why is the girl black eye? What did she do wrong?
I don't know.
Why did you give her a black eye?
She told him he couldn't go to his clan meeting.
Jesus.
Wait a minute, are you talking about me?
Yes, he was talking.
You said something about you've never had sex with a black-eyed girl. I asked, why did you?
No. I said if you've never had sex with a black-eyed girl, you're missing the best things in life.
I've had sex with many different.
If somebody has a black eye, then usually that means somebody did something wrong somewhere.
You know what's something is like. One thing about me is I've never bothered to notice girls' eyes too much. I got in trouble for that with my ex because I didn't know what her eye color was.
Here's what I love about the WNC. That here in the land of the virgins, a motherfucker like me can stand tall.
Walking tall. No, I don't notice eyes too much. I don't bother to notice. Okay, look, my one ex who was Mexican, I knew her eyes were brown. And that's not to be racist. Like,
do you have Asperger's?
Oh, me?
Yeah, because you know what? People that are autistic or have Asperger's tend not to look people in the eye, which would make sense why you don't like looking at people's eyes or you don't care about eyes because you don't stare into them. Dude, there is something wonderfully sexy and amazing about looking into a woman's eyes.
Damn right.
Especially as you plow the shit out of it.
No, I do. I like all that, Mish, but the problem for me is I've never bothered to notice the eye color. I don't remember that. I can remember, like with my exes or girls that I've been with, I can remember hair color to a point. Now, if it's like dark brown or blackish brown, I can't tell the fucking difference, to be honest. But I can remember like the hair color. I can remember if their hair was longer or if it was cut short. I can remember if they had long legs, if they were smooth. If they were a short girl, if they were a tall girl. I can remember a big ass, pancake ass, big rack, no rack. I can remember stuff like that. Eye color I can look into the eyes and I love and I do enjoy that too, like you're saying. I just don't. But the color never registers for me. It's not a big deal if I'm fucking a blue-eyed girl or a black-eyed girl.
Colorblind?
No, I'm not colorblind. It's just never been an interest to me. I enjoy
colorblind. I mean, I know that, and I don't mean once again to really get this deep into a simple question. I just
sorry. No, I've never bothered to notice the color of their eyes too much. I'll stare into the eyes, but the color will just pass right by me.
No, I think that's more of an anxiety thing more than Asperger's thing too.
Anxiety.
Like, anxiety is a bit
anxiety
different than yeah.
Well, I've been dealing with anxiety problems since the war, so I can attest to that.
Asperger's has a lot of social, disconnect.
So it's anxiety. Anxiety can be a social thing too. Like it's a bit similar, but there's
But I would think forms. That Johnny doesn't seem like an anxious person. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. Well,
put me with a fucking girl. I am a shy bitch sometimes. It's crazy. I can either flirt with a girl or I'm shy to just be outright and say I'm interested.
It depends on the girl.
That's what I was about to ask. Because you could talk about it. Go, I slept with this girl and this and that last night. He'll talk it up. Then you realize when he's around you, he's quiet and shy. Like that's a form of it, or maybe because he doesn't want to get in trouble for saying the wrong thing. But
I am a guy that doesn't kiss and tell too much anymore. I'm not like what I used to be when I was in the Army, where everybody talked about this shit. But no, like I can be relaxed and open with a girl. Like here's my big thing: we know I can fucking talk. So jokes aside, but I can do that with a girl, no problem. When it comes to actually asking them out, or if making a move, like to make a move for a kiss or something, those initial moves I am fucking horrible with. And I've had a number.
It sounds like you place too much value on asking a woman out.
Well, because I've had enough rejection in my fucking life.
But like
because you place too much value on it.
But I've also had a number of girls, like over the years, I've found a number of girls that were interested in me that I did not realize, and I was interested in them. And it's like, why didn't you fucking tell me? It's like, well, you never made a move. Why the fuck am I going to make a move? You didn't make it. You didn't make it look like I had a chance.
Because you place too much fucking value on the idea of asking someone out. If you think about asking someone out is about as worthless as blowing your fucking nose, and you put that in your head, then asking people out doesn't mean shit. And then ergo, all your little fucking anxieties disappear. You have to devalue things. I think a lot of anxiety, and I suffer anxieties myself, but I've come to the conclusion that a lot of the anxieties that I personally suffer are a result of me putting things on a pedestal in which they don't belong. Asking women out.
Also a fear of something.
Let him finish. Let him finish because I'm trying to study this.
It's fine. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, it's also a fear because, like, when I started doing podcasting, I suffered from social anxiety for years. Like, if you met me before I started doing podcasting, like, I wouldn't talk at all. So when I start to relax a little bit, like, so one thing I'd be fearing is saying the wrong thing, and people will be thinking I'm an idiot. Now I'm to the point I just don't give a shit.
That's the same for me.
When you kind of allow yourself to sort of relax to the idea of talking to somebody or this and that, that's when anxiety sort of goes away. And
you devalued it. You just literally said exactly what I said. You devalued it. You said you used to be anxious to the point where you didn't say a thing, but now you don't give a shit. Saying you don't give a shit about something devalues it, and that's the whole reason you're no longer anxious.
I don't think it's so much the idea of devaluing it. I think it's that we valued it because, like with me with podcasting, it's the same thing. Because you can ask Jenkins or Corvin.
Because he was valuing people because he said he was worried about him saying something stupid, but now he doesn't give a shit. Meaning you devalued it. It's simple. Don't make it more complex than it is. The solution to anxiety.
It used to be to the point like I couldn't ask a question like, "Hey, Mish, could I?" It'd be a simple thing. "Hey, Mish, could I borrow a pen?" Like it'd be stuff like that. I couldn't do that. It'll be something in my brain.
I'm sure there's different levels. I'm not saying that you didn't suffer really bad. Like, I know there's different levels of anxious. Like asking somebody at the gas station for directions is completely different than trying to get into a romantic relationship with somebody. I get the different levels of fear, and some of it might seem, I don't want to say small, but some of it might seem on a less important level to get that anxious about. But that fear, that anxiousness is still huge until you can conquer it. Like asking somebody for a pen shouldn't give you the same kind of anxiety as trying to get out of a ticket. You know, when the cops at your window, you're supposed to be fucking anxious, you know? Like, even if you didn't do something wrong, you're still going to be anxious. Why? Because it's a member of authority with a fucking gun and a badge and a right to arrest you. That should be a very anxious, intense moment, regardless of what it is, unless you're Cheech and Chong.
See, what's funny for me, I mean, you get a little anxious, of course, but funny for me because I used to do that kind of work. I'm not really that anxious. For me, pull out the ID or pull out the passport is so fucking simple for me because I know I'll bypass it all.
Right, but
that's because I lived it.
But for most people, a lot of anxiety comes from valuing things, from being, for believing things are worth more than it is, for believing things have more value than they do. Like, for example, the way you would get over your fear of asking a girl out is to remember that girls are pieces of shit, John. They're absolute pieces of shit. Everything that you say and think, girls think that too. For as disgusting as you can be, a girl is the same thing. And especially a girl that you share things with that you would like to go out with. Chances are she's as much of a piece of shit as you are. And when you start looking at them like that, you start understanding that, well, what the fuck am I all worried about? I wouldn't be offended if somebody asked me out. So, hey, bitch, you want to go out? Simple as that. That's like some Patrice O'Neill level shit right there. You devalue a situation until you're comfortable with it. I think it works for mostly everything. Like, I'm going to be fucking nervous as hell showing up at C2E2. And then I realize that all the scum fucks that are going to be around me, these fucking nose-picking goddamn ass booger-eating motherfuckers, are going to be surrounding me and listen to me talk about wrestling for an hour. Like, the fucking losers that are going to be surrounding me. I love them all, but that's how I get over the fucking anxiety. I just realized that you guys are pieces of shit, too. Every single person that's sitting here is a piece of shit. And then everything's fine. There's no problems. There's no more anxiety ever.
And there's also the point, like somebody brought up earlier, why don't Kevin Castle and DT catch up? Like, I think that something like this. I think DT has said this. What would they talk about in person?
Well, I mean,
me and Joe talked. The first thing that me and Joe did, we didn't see each other for 3 years when we were doing the show. We did the show for 3 years before we fucking met up. Which is still a long enough time, you know? And the first thing we did was fucking, we got off the plane, fucking hugged each other, and then we said, where do you want to drink? That was literally how it started. You know,
that's you. But then you think of D2 and Kevin Castle. Like, DC might be into Marvel, whereas Kev is into DC. Like that. Like I think
that
like,
easily leads to a conversation because you'll end up just killing each other.
Totally opposite people.
Oh, sure they are. They're totally the opposite.
But see, here's the thing: is that that's sometimes the best thing about it. I mean, look at this group. You know, Papa Dave is an older Texas, Louisiana boy who, you know, has his Southern background, who smokes pot. Jenkins is a pothead from upstate New York who is ICP and is the exact opposite of me. I'm this straight edge, not really, of course I drink, but I'm the straight edge military guy who's got structure and everything. And Corvin's a little bitch. And, you know, the four of us could come together and we could actually have some fun and goof off or whatever. We're completely opposite from each other. The only difference is that Jenk and Dave smoke. But the rest of us is completely different. What? Because Jenk and I are New Yorkers as well?
Eat shit and die, you fucking fat.
I love you, my best boyfriend. I love
cocksucker.
Eat
shit and die, you fucking piece of shit.
That is my best boyfriend talking.
But also,
it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. When I think about smoking, I don't put the emphasis of my life on it that others do.
Well, I wasn't saying you were.
Things I do.
No, I wasn't trying to make it sound like you did that.
No, I get what you're saying. I always find it interesting that the things that people, and I understand why they pick them out. I do talk about it a lot.
Right. Like, do more people classify you, Dave, as a pothead or as old? Like,
old. Yeah. Definitely old.
Right. Well, I mean, that also probably has to do with the nickname, Papa Dave.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always talking about the grandkids, the daughter, the son-in-law,
Yeah, but I mean, if you went by Dave Buddha or some shit like that, people would be like, oh, he's a fucking weak guy. A guy got you.
We got to try that out, Buddha Dave.
Don't do that. Dave, no Buddha Dave. No.
Dank Dave.
No, let's not do Dank Dave. I don't like that. That's bad. Papa's fine. I'm because it's legitimate. I'm a papa.
Right.
It's me. It's who I am.
But no, I mean, but that's what I was saying. Like, the four of us, if we were to get together, I think we would do great. Maybe Corvin would be a little hold back or something. I don't know, but me, Dave, Jank, I don't think it'd be any problem hanging out and something with our differences. Not at all.
I will never, ever, if I can help it, hang out with any of you.
See that right there. Quit being a little bitch. You're like Squeak from basketball.
Just because I don't want to hang out with you, Johnny, doesn't mean I'm a little bitch.
Yeah.
It means I don't want to hang out with you.
You're like Squeak.
You're a piece of shit.
Did you ever watch basketball? Because you're Squeak.
I don't want to be around you.
Okay, quit being.
Damn, you stupid fuck.
Tough break, Squeak.
Yeah. I'm the odd one out. I don't get invited to stuff.
Yeah. But with any of you guys, Sky, Genie, Mish, I mean, if we were talking Bobby Anthem, Bobby Liz, I could hang out with anybody. I mean, I think most of us could do that. Some people have their characters that they would hold back or they'd be shy.
Would have to get Klondike out.
Oh, God, that'd be fucking fun. Balls deep, for sure. No, man. Okay, look, some people are shy like Don Tony, but I don't think that means that they can't hang out or something.
I don't think Don Tony's shy. Don Tony is a different character. I think that his social anxiety doesn't come from in passing. It comes from when he's out of character. To put it nicely, Kevin. What?
I was going to say his character's a shield.
Oh, stop trying to speak for me. Jesus Christ, dude. Look, it's not. Kevin Castle deals with people every day. So does Don Tony. Kevin Castle deals with club people. He's used to the metal scene, everything else like that. But I believe Kevin Castle has anxiety as well. Don Tony's anxiety, or Don Tony deals with insurance people all the time. His job is to sell to people, so he has to be very interpersonal with people. He deals with insurance, so the time people that call Don Tony, it's always in a bad situation. Nobody calls the insurance agent underneath good circumstances. It's always house blew up, my car blew up, my kids blew up, something. But when you're talking about wrestling, the interesting thing about the way that their personalities mesh is wrestling is the thing that's different than any other part of their life. Their life revolves around their work. Their life revolves around their home life. But wrestling is their common bond. They don't have any other common bonds. Don Tony doesn't like heavy metal music. Kevin Castle doesn't give a shit about insurance. Like, the common bond that they have, other than maybe the Mets, and that's even loosely based, is literally wrestling. So if those two guys got together, they could only talk about wrestling, I think. I don't know. We'll find out because I'm going to be up there. But I think trying to get into a different conversation, talking about family and stuff like that, like they both have dramatic love for their family, which is obviously rightfully so. You should. But they have different backgrounds. Like DT was raised in a more of a white collar environment. Kevin Castle was raised in more of a blue collar environment. It's like everything else is very different. Like they can have the same emotions about things, but to sit there and say that they can cross over and try to sympathize or empathize with one another, only on the surface. I mean, even the people that they both know together, it's just, everything is very tiered off. And I don't think that Don Tony has to be a character per se in order to be in public, but I think it helps.
And that's what was the reason for my question too, because me thinking the last thing I want to talk with somebody, like if talk to one of these, if I met these in person, would be about wrestling, because that's what I talk about on the show. I'd be rather talking about something else. So what would they have to talk about? Maybe they would have something that would be interesting to talk with insurance and that bit. And then you also said that maybe they wouldn't be. So it's like, so DT, you could get in a conversation about insurance, and Kev's like, Oh yeah, that's cool. I'm trying to listen, but not keeping engaged. Not let's say that it's in a bad way, but like still
Right.
at the same time, like he's trying to be invested but can't because he's not into it.
I
Dude, I'll give you an example. Here's a good example. I'd love to sit down with Kev Castle and talk about punk. Or I say talk. Sit down and ask questions and listen.
Yeah.
And John Draper, same thing. Just sit and listen to those guys.
Sure.
But, where I grew up, all my punk experiences, what I heard on the radio, maybe one or two friends and the records I bought. But I didn't know any guys in punk bands or punk bands or played guitar or a drummer in a punk band. And rock and roll bands, absolutely.
But then that's something you have in common. Like you find you have in common. Like I'm talking about DTKFC. Well, like we. I don't know what else they would have in common with each other. Like that's my point in that.
Yeah.
Like you with punk. Well, you have a different conversation other than wrestling to talk about. It's just like sometimes you'll meet up with people and just have nothing to talk about.
see now.
Other than stuff that you watch.
I think but part of that is kind of their problem that they've done because they painted into such a corner of, mainly only being about like with wrestling on the air. DT used to talk about politics, but he keeps most of that out now. But for the most part, it's only been wrestling for all these years. I think that's that's good things that we did with making the Souper Party is following the key from, like with you, Mish, is like when we made the Souper Party, it's the after party. So it's supposed to be less of wrestling, still some wrestling, but everything else. So we've been able to talk and mesh about everything else going on. So we know about how each other's views are, our interests, what we like, what we hate, which is usually me, and other stuff like other fashions and formats, and so we know enough about each other, and I think we could still. I've always been the guy that could talk to anybody about any topic. I mean, I'm the only Trump supporter out of all four of us, but I can be completely fine, get along with you guys. Oh, this was a great episode. It doesn't have to be any difference like that. I could talk to anybody about any topic, even if it's something I don't know or usually too much of an interest in. I can listen and learn.
That's difference though between your ability to communicate and other people's ability to communicate. And while you are very good at opening up doors and breaking the ice, for as weird as it sounds, even though you were just talking about how you have issues with women, I think on that same hand, there are other caveats to your abilities that are actually weighing against you. Mm-hmm. Because while you can sit there and talk and truly break the ice, sometimes I wonder if you have the characteristic ability in order to listen and carry a conversation. Like, you can talk. You are a great one-man band, but in order to work with an orchestra, I don't think you have that strength.
I'm much better when it's just a duet. Like, fair. I don't like doing solo shows. When I'm not good at doing a show by myself. I mean, I've gotten better over time, but I don't like it. When it's one-on-one or maybe just three people, I do feel I am much better. Now, you guys would probably be better judge, of course, if you're going to say different about it, but I can carry a conversation when it's just two people. That's how me and my ex got together.
I kind of just did say, I mean, it's not a shot. I just
No. I'm taking it to heart, and I'm not taking it personal like that.
If you listened back to tonight's show, personal? Right. If you listen back to tonight's show, besides me, which I know I talk a lot, but I try to keep things going. I'm a little I would like to believe I'm a little methodical, and sometimes in the questions and the way that I carry myself. I put myself in different scenarios and I ask certain questions in order to carry a conversation, and I make certain statements in order to carry the conversation. Like, everything is about keeping the conversation going, which is one of my strengths. Yep. I know when it comes to conversing. Like with Don Tony, Kevin Castle, Joe, and John and stuff. Although they don't need my help, I can help shift the direction of things in a different way. Even when we're all talking here tonight, I can help shift the directions of things into a different way. But if you listen to the show tonight, you'll notice that I would like to say probably 60% of the talking has been you. 40% of it has probably been me. And I'm used to leading the show, so that's my failure. But at the same time, if you're talking about opening up the doors for everyone as a conversation goes, it's like that's when you turn around and say, well, what do you think about that, Dave? What do you think about that, Mike? That's why when we were talking earlier about the pets, that's the correct way to keep a conversation going. Old man Jenkins was talking to me about his pets, and then you jumped in and you were telling me, and we got onto the snakes and stuff like that. And then we brought
potatoes.
We brought Papa Dave into the conversation, and we brought Sky Genie into the conversation, and that's how it works. And then he gives his point, and instead of you jumping back in, let him finish his point, and then it would be onto Michael. Michael jumped in afterwards and talked about his sad story of only having a goldfish for a pet, which was, whew, Jesus Christ, Mike, get another fucking dude.
Yeah. But, well, I mean, I know I ask a lot, when we're doing the shows, I'll ask the guys, what they think and all that.
I grew up in a single-parent household. My mother could barely afford to keep my sister and I fed with a roof over our head. So there wasn't exactly much room for having a pet.
I'm joking, dude. I came from that exact background, I mean...
I was about to say, this is where that's one thing you need to learn to identify as well. He was just trying to make a joke. He didn't try to get too serious on that. But yeah.
One thing I can understand on Johnny's point about doing a solo show, because I can attest. I think I hated doing the solo shows when I did it on my own. I feel I only had half an hour conversation, sometimes less. So sometimes when you have this second person, you have that ability to bounce off somebody. So say I had Michael Corvin on, he would I'll throw out a subject. Say it's something that happened in WWE. I'll let Michael Corvin go first. Let him get his opinion and get his opinion in. But I'll also ask, hey, throw this into the rent. But hey, maybe WWE. Say it's Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar beat Seth Rollins because Seth Rollins is going to leave or something like that. Then I'll let Michael Corvin get through a point, but I also throw a different curveball. Well, what if he left because of this reason?
Right. Well,
so keep the conversation going. I can lead, but I can't really keep the conversation.
They validate your conversations. What it is? They validate your thought by either agreeing or disagreeing, because even if they agree or disagree, even if they disagree, you can still use that to question why do they disagree. What is it about my point that you don't agree with? And if they do agree, then it provides validation onto the thoughts that you've already had.
I kept the mindset in my mind that if everybody agreed with me, the world would be pretty boring. So I like difference of opinion. So that's why I listen to other podcasts. I listen to this one, WNC. I listen to Wrestling Soup. I'll listen to Meltzer. I'll listen to whatever. For the difference of opinion, I don't have to necessarily agree with them, but that doesn't mean I can't see what else is out there. How do these people feel about Cody Rhodes compared to these people? How do these people feel about WWE compared to these people? So I like that aspect of listening to other that's why I listen to them, and I try to be that's why I try to bring into my show to be a little bit different, to bring a different narrative, if that's fair.
Right.
Even if it doesn't come off well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense though. I mean, I do the solo shows every once in a while. Usually I'm comfortable with the music when I'm doing the mass with Mish, but the music is actually the second host, because the music is what takes away the conversation from me, and then the music plays, and then sometimes I'll talk in between, sometimes I won't. since then I've checked it myself. So solo shows are egotistical validations for our identity, and that's the way I've always felt they are. Even if
I think you got to do that, but you got to have an ego to do it though too. Like I think everybody has an ego, no matter what they say, what they claim. But it depends on the ego, whether they're the best in the world or the ego to do better.
See,
there's a difference.
I would make the argument. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say mine's in the work. The only time you'll hear that kind of an ego is when it comes to me busting my ass trying to make the audio work, me busting my ass when I'm trying to do editing and production. Like, those are the only times that you really hear me fucking like, go ahead, asshole, challenge me. Like somebody that says that they can do fucking better. Let me see it. Yeah. You know, like that's.
I meant that the ego to do better was every show with me. It wasn't a thing because like I didn't really care if we got over. I didn't care if we got famous. It's cool where we got, but at no point did I say, well, cool, we're going to get. I didn't look at it to be famous or anything. Didn't look at it to be anything much more as a project. That's pretty much all it was. It was a project to get off the ground, see if I can even get to that level. And 2 years 100, I think we did pretty well. But we were never big, we never huge. But then I'm fine with that because I did like the intimacy of some of the stuff because, like, I knew how practically all the audience that would come in and listen. I think the highest we had was 16 people at one point.
Yeah. Well, I think I wouldn't say it's. I mean, yeah, I do agree with you, Sky. That I do believe everybody has at least a little bit of an ego. It just depends on how much. But I don't think it has to do with ego so much about doing a solo show. I think it's more about confidence and or commitment. And here's what I mean by that. Do you have the confidence to just be like, oh, okay, I can do this? But at the same time, is it also like the idea, the commitment of, like I've had that happen. What was it, like 3 weeks in a row? I ended up doing a solo show myself on Sunday because we had the commitment to put the episode on Fight, every single week, and I need to get this done. And honestly, like sometimes people are saying you did really good pushing through the solo show. Part of it was because I was mad because
I got to interrupt you before you get too far. Confidence is just a pretty word to say arrogant. I mean, I know I'm a little bit darker in that scenario saying that, but confidence is just a romantic way to say ego.
In many ways, I agree with you, but what I'm saying about confidence is more like you're not afraid is what I'm trying to get at. Because like Sky said, when we first got into podcasting, like he said, and I was the same way. I was nervous and afraid to be able to talk like that, and over time it got me to knock out that stage fright anxiety, stage fright. There you go. So what I mean about confidence is like that is like, are you afraid of being able to do it by yourself? Now, me, I would start like those 3 weeks. I started getting.
Here's the other thing. I'll listen back to those shows, like when the first shows when I started doing it. I'll listen to those shows, but I'll be looking at Wrestling Super as a thing. So why can't I talk like that? Why can't I get verbiage out like that? Like when I started, I couldn't get a lot of words out. And it would come to a point like, well, why can't I get to that level? And it takes time to get to that level to where you can talk.
It's comfortability.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's another thing too, is people just think that, I mean, even in 2010, if you listen to me, I'm very rough around the edges. But even in 2010, I already had 6 years under my belt. Yeah. I started in 2004 fucking around, on different levels. Like if you listen to my Blog Talk Radio shit from 2006, you could just hear how very amateur I was. A lot of dead air, a lot of pauses, just the questioning that I had for my co-host or for people that called in was just, it just didn't come correct, and over time you become used to the mic. Like the way I talk on the mic isn't even the way that I talk in real life. And I don't mean like volume or anything like that. I just mean, I think in real person situations, I'm completely a different person because not necessarily a character, but there's a comfortability with talking in the mic for me that comes more natural sometimes than it is talking with different groups of people. Unless I break those people down into pieces of shit. And then when I do that, then everything's okay, copacetic. But once again, that's just how I deal with things, That's just, I don't know. I was going somewhere with that, and I lost my train of thought.
Well, now don't you find sometimes that say when you're talking to Joe, you and Joe were in a conversation, and I mean it's a very directed conversation where you're answering each other, and you don't find that when you're talking to him, you're actually talking to him as though he's right there.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's how I talk to John. I mean, I always imagine in some part of my head them being right here. But when I'm talking, I'll be pointing at John.
But when you're pointing at John and you're talking to John, you are very aware that there's 30-something listeners in the chat room listening to you. And that also directs your questioning. You will ask Johnny questions that you already know the answer to, or you already know how he'll answer, only for the benefit of the people listening. That's the difference between a conversation with the microphone as opposed to just, hey, Johnny, what the fuck's up? You know?
Yeah.
You wouldn't, and that's the same thing I do with Joe and John. I wouldn't talk to Joe and John the same way I do on the show in real life, because I wouldn't have to, because I already know the answers that they're going to give me for most of the stuff, so I don't have to present everything like it's a question on the show. Like when I question things on the show, which comes to our sarcasm a lot of the time too, when we're making fun of shit, you know, it's just how it works. I don't know how else to say it. It's like, you know that there's somebody watching at all times, which that's what the whole point of doing a show is that other people are watching and listening. But there's somebody that's actively participating in the conversation. And even though you're talking to another person and you're genuinely interested in what they have to say, whether you know the answer or not, you're still presenting for a completely different audience. You're not presenting this question for Joe. You're presenting this question to Joe, or to Johnny in a sense. You're presenting this question to Johnny in order to rile up Johnny, in order to get an answer out of Johnny, in order for Johnny to perform the way you want him to perform.
I don't know who this Johnny guy is you keep mentioning, but he sounds like a dick.
It's, but that's what it is. It's very multi-layered.
Usually the ones in Florida are.
But that's.
Oh, hey, Johnny, how you going?
Yeah, no, he's usually just the dick that puts everybody to sleep.
You're welcome. Go back to sleep.
But I mean, I think that's how a lot of that works. You know, like interviewers. I don't know if you, any of you guys have ever worked as an interviewer for a different company or something like that. But even as
but I did one interview with the real Mike Neon, an actual wrestler, who ended up becoming the co-host for a little while.
Now, I got an interesting question. All right, you've been interviewed for jobs. Usually your interviews with employers are more than one person, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 2 to 3.
Right. Do you know the reason behind that, the psychology behind that? It's not to disarm you. Like a lot of people think it's to make you feel weird, but it's not.
I was thinking it was supposed to, like, okay, you have, you know, multiple people. Okay, so you already feel inferior, you know, and multiple mindsets, multiple questions, different angles as well. That's why they have, okay, this person asked, this person asked.
But they're also looking to make sure that what you write down on the resume isn't bullshit.
Yeah, but they don't need 3 people to fucking look at the same resume. Like, you could do that before you do the interview. The reason that they have 3 people usually on the whole is to give the actual interviewers confidence. Because if the interviewers go in there stumbling for, you know, over your shit, talking to you about a job, you're going to look at them like, what the fuck is this asshole like interviewing me for? But if you have 3 people in there and this person is obviously comfortable with the 2 people next to him, like he trusts them or she trusts them when they're giving the interview, they provide a psychological strength so that they can get through the interview with confidence, and they can also pass the buck on to someone else so they don't have all the strain of the entire interview. It's very fucking just, you have to really look at how deep some of this shit goes. And this is one of those things that it's strength in numbers. And so in order to prevent a unified front and to give their company the best advantage as to the interview and to have the best insight, which is obviously another aspect of it too, like maybe one person notices something about you that the other 2 don't, but it's all about unity, strength in numbers, and that's why they usually have more than one interviewer. You'll still find the occasional job where it's just one interviewer, but the chances are of that are slim to none, and that's because one person, a one-on-one interview, unless it's like like you've already been with the company, those are usually your one-on-one interviews. Like you've been with the company for 10 years, you want to get a fucking promotion, that's usually a one-on-one interview. But the reason that they do the 3-to-1 is because as a one-on-one interview as a stranger, they don't want you getting one over on them. They don't want you to have the ability to bullshit them. As an employee or as a fucking an applicant, you kind of control the cards, and they don't want you to think that. And that's unfortunately the truth about all employee relationships, is that the applicant has more control. Meanwhile, most of us go into a job terrified, like, oh, I don't want to fuck up and lose this job. You literally have to go in with the mindset, I have nothing to lose, because you don't. You literally have nothing to lose. You don't have the job yet. So you can go in there and say that, oh, yeah, my brother Jack Black, over to the house all the time. And these people, it's their job in order to call bullshit. And if they can't call bullshit and they fucking believe you and they hire you for that, that's on them. You've just beaten the system. But if they call bullshit, then they know that, well, okay, this guy fucking lies about this shit. Do we really want to hire a guy that's clearly lying? It's just different levels. That's what I was talking about earlier when fucking me and Joe, and I know I'm going on a rant here, I'm sorry. But when Joe were talking about nature versus nurture and shit like that, when we were talking about the psychology that goes behind some of this stuff, that I think if fucking WWE hired psychiatrists in order to analyze some of these wrestlers, in order to fucking really pull out some shit, like pull out some darkness, pull out some character moments, some character traits out of them, I don't think it would hurt at all. Like I think Joey kind of looked at that in an odd light, but I'm thinking, yeah, let's pull out that time that Uncle Leroy touched your little butthole. How'd that? Did it make you cry? Did you like it? Oh, if you liked it, we'd love to put that on TV. Just dark shit, dude. I don't know. So
good point.
I don't think it was a point. I was just making.
I know.
Since we're talking about jobs, Mish was asking yesterday about the AEW stuff, whether it's a work or not. I can't answer that because I like the mystery, but I can say I am not employed yet. And I said yet.
Soon we will see you there.
You're getting there.
Yes. Because the fact that people are questioning whether this is work or not is kind of fun. So I don't want to tell anyone. I'll let people think and speculate for themselves. But
I know somebody from AEW listens to us. A couple people.
Because here's the thing, if it's a work or shoot, like the thing, I can't tag Wrestling Soup in these things either, because like if I do, well, they see that and then I feel bad. Otherwise, I would be. Yep. Tagging it. You can see, like, I'm tagging, like, Meltzer. I'm tagging fucking Chris Jericho. Everybody.
They just probably think you're a loser.
I was thinking of tagging Chuck Norris into it, but I don't know if there's an actual account.
Chuck Norris? Does he even tweet?
No, but it'd be cool.
Now I gotta look.
And I had an interview, but sadly, it kind of fell to pieces.
What did you do?
Well, not me.
Did you try hitting on Brandy?
No.
Oh.
No. Well, it was torn to pieces.
This motherfucker is verified.
Black Chuck Norris.
This motherfucker is verified. He gets like 6 likes and shit. Come on.
He probably sent in his social security number.
That doesn't matter.
Well, that's what it is for Facebook. I should
tag Paul Heyman in that thing next time.
Yeah. But I know that's what you got to do for Facebook to get the blue check mark. One of the guys I was working with during the election cycle, in order to get his account verified and be able to post like political fundraising stuff, he had to verify himself, which was sending like his passport and his social security number and shit like that, which is one of the most crooked things I've ever heard in my life. But
he's got 1,664 followers. Are you fucking kidding me? It's just so stupid, so harmful. Whatever.
Bye, Corvin. Left.
Oh, Corvin left. Yeah, I'm gonna too. I gotta get fucking out of here, dude. It's already 4:30.
Yeah, it's 5:30 for me. It's what, dinner time for you, Sky?
No, it's bedtime.
Yeah.
It's almost 9:30 at night.
All right, boys.
All right.
Fun times, Mish.
John, Sky.
See you later.
See you, everybody.
Night.
Back Chuck Norris.